Are you good to go, Mark? Recording has
Yeah,
started.
yeah. Oh, recording has started. Okay, good.
Just
How are you?
Make it good. I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm wearing a Scotland jersey even though they lost.
It's okay. It's okay. All the teams I support this weekend lost, so I've got a fond spot for loss. Even the athletes I support lost. It was a rough weekend, wasn't it?
Your man Israel Adesanya had a loss.
He did have a loss against.
Your
He was a
Waz had
7-1. My Waz had a big loss, sadly. But we live to fight another day with the Waz, thankfully. Looking forward to seeing where they end up. But no.
Do we need to tell people why I'm not at your house right now? You're working.
I'm quite sniff. I am working. I'm in Queenstown at the moment. I missed a game while flying down here, which I'm very bitterly upset about. The Fiji and Fiji Wales game. And can I tell you,
that was the best game of the week.
I know. So, and look, I had a plan to watch it before this as well. So, as soon as the plane landed, I was like, okay, I can watch this. I can do this. And then I just got my phone out, started watching it. I got to the first penalty. Wales slotted a 3, and I was like, okay, I'll watch the rest in a second. And then as soon as I got inside the Queenstown terminal, I turned to my left, and there was a screen with the score, whatever it was, 32-26 or whatever it was. And I was like, oh my God. But it was the very last play of the game, which was incredible. So I got, by the way, there's an airport just behind me. No, just over there.
What that was.
I'll show people around. It's absolutely stunning in a second. But so I got into the airport and I looked at the screen. I was like, no. And then I saw the whole of that period, which was it was a game's worth of drama in one play.
Okay. Well, you saw the best part of the game then.
And I was sitting there freaking out, and my colleague doesn't give a crap about rugby went to the loo, and I was like, yeah, whatever, go. And then there was like a bunch of us just crowded around this television, and then was it Sammy Radradra at the end who had the line open? Dropped it, and there was just a whole airport just went no. So it was and that was huge. But I don't know
all the neutrals are behind Fiji for that one.
Yeah. In my little Super Brew pool that I've got, I actually backed Wales by 3 points, but I really wanted Fiji to win. Yeah.
I thought I had backed Wales by 3 points, but I had backed Fiji by 3 points. But then I'm also playing the Rugby World Cup predictor game, and in that one I picked Wales. So,
hey, am I better on this side or that side? What side is better?
Neither side looks great, mate.
You can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. Is that what you're trying to say? Yeah, I know. Yeah, okay.
What a good time to be alive. What are you doing?
What a time. I know. It was really irritating. But I woke up and I watched Scotland and Wales. And you know what's irritating? I woke up and I watched the first half just enjoying it. Just really Scotland had a coffee in hand.
South Africa.
Sorry, Scotland and South Africa. Sorry, it's been a long morning. And, I was enjoying it. It was great. And then at halftime, I was like, I got to be at the airport at bloody 6 a.m. So I spent the second half halftime trying to shower and get ready, but then I was just trying to watch it while keeping my eyes on the time, and I had to leave when there was like 10 minutes to go, and it was pretty much well wrapped up, but not as much of an enjoyable experience, so yeah, that was disappointing. But look, there's so many games to talk about.
Speaking of disappointing, how about them All Blacks?
Can we just marvel at the beauty of New Zealand for a second before we talk about how disappointing our rugby team is?
I've been to Queenstown. If you have been to New Zealand and you come to
look at this.
The North Island generally, it's not as good as that.
Look at this. Yeah. Look at this. And you ready for me to ruin the frame? Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
There we go. Yeah. No, it's absolutely stunning. Perfect day down here at a conference. I've got my little lanyard turned around the other way so you don't know what the heck I do for work. But no, great time to be alive. And look, what did you think overall? What would you give this weekend in terms of a grade, like quality of rugby and excitement of rugby and all that sort of stuff, before we get into the nitty-gritty?
Only one of the games was really like an edge of your seat banger, and that was that last game, Wales Fiji.
Oh,
like there was some quite like solid. Like South Africa was really solid over Scotland. It was like, you know, encouraging without being earth-shattering. Like they did everything they you know the South Africans can do well, and it was too much.
They ground them down.
Yeah, the fact that England won with a red card in the 3rd minute. I mean, they
incredible,
dropped
incredible
penalties and whatnot. That in itself was kind of incredible, but it's not like if I was going to sit someone down who wasn't a rugby fan and let me sell rugby to you, I'm not showing them that game kind of thing.
No,
and then
but, sorry, go on. Well, you know how much I've spent talking about George Ford in my life? You know how many minutes before this weekend?
Not many.
Maybe about 10 seconds when I said, "Who's that bloke?" to you or something like that. But he was remarkable. That was one of the best World Cup performances of all time. Like I know, like people were bitching about boring rugby and all that sort of stuff, but that was so engaging in terms of the context of the game and him having the intelligence to be able to do what needed to be done. Like there are so many people who just can't do that, and like we can get into that game in greater depth, but my God, where do you put Owen Farrell when he comes back? Like that's a big question. Does he go back in? He's meant to be a captain. I'm looking for some water. Here we go, found my water. No beers this morning. Are we still in the morning? Yeah, still in the morning.
It is still in the morning. Otherwise I would have grabbed a beer out the fridge, but anyway.
Well, people don't need to know the time. Yeah, because there was 2 slots we had for recording this. It was either going to be now or when I was going to be steamed as a steamboat.
I was going to join you in the steaming if you had, because because it's the World Cup, I've been like stocking up on varieties of alcohol. Like I've got some Namibian beer, the old Windhoek. I bought myself some South African brandy, some Clippies with some Coke. And I bought some like Italian beer, and I bought some Fijian beer. Like I've stocked up on all the beers.
So you've got the beers. The beers have been got. Oh, that's fantastic. I'm ruining all these people's peace and quiet. There's all these people just trying to, because I'm on a grandstand right now. There's a cricket pitch right in front of me, and all these people came out here for like some serenity, and now they got some Jaffa just waffling on about dog shit with headphones on, looking like a twat.
That, man? Who cares?
You
think you're a twat, like sitting there with a microphone in relative obscurity. I was walking around China with a camera pointed at my face. That's how you feel like a knobhead, all right?
And you're 7 foot tall as well, so it's hard for you to like not be noticed. Yeah, I appreciate that, mate. Yeah, and you did it well. You've got another channel, don't you? 2 Cents on Tour?
I do. I wasn't going to mention that, but you brought it up, so yeah.
There you go. 7 minutes in, I'll put a card in it.
It's just hit 4,000 watch hours, so it's going to become a real channel in YouTube land.
Fantastic. You might get a bit of a bump from that now that YouTube knows it can make a lot of money off it. Mega bucks. Like a bit of cash. So, mate, where do you want to unpack these games in chronological order?
Man. Come on.
Okay.
People want to see our reactions, our sad faces.
Do your best sad face. We'll do this for the. Should we do it for the thumbnail? Do your sad face.
Just like.
Yeah, I need to be more like less faking it. Oh, someone's trying to give me a phone call. Let me just double check that it's no one important. No, it's no one important. Okay, look who it is. So if you're watching, Lydia. You're not important. No, it's not Lydia. I should really send him to voicemail, shouldn't I? That's rude of me. I'll call him back. Anyway, so I woke up super excited, ready to go. First game of the World Cup. And it's not just like there's the anticipation that it's the first game of the World Cup. For whatever reason, like Japan versus Russia last time, I was kind of excited by it, even though that's a game that I would miss all the time. But it's the opener of a World Cup. But this is just the blockbuster of all blockbusters. You know, the most electric team in the world, the most enigmatic team in the world, and the hottest team in the world right now, in a lot of people's opinions, the favorites, the hosts, France versus, the All Blacks. And the All Blacks and what they entail and what they bring to an occasion is huge. So I don't know why, but I went in going, we can get this done. There's a helicopter. There's a base level of confidence that we go into, but should we be losing that confidence? Should we go into games now going, I don't know about this. This is going to be a
maybe
bit rough.
like you. I tipped the All Blacks. Like I didn't think we were going to smash them,
I
but
tipped us too.
I thought All Blacks by a couple of points, maybe.
I tipped us by 9. I thought it would.
Still single digits.
Yeah. But look, I thought we had the better of that first half. Like, incredible getting that try to Taleo, like just getting us underway. And I was like, all right, here we go. We're on, boys. But we just lack cohesion, and we seem to just make silly decisions, and discipline is just about as bad as it can be. And they're not adapting to referees. I know they did a lot of work with Ben O'Keefe in Germany and all that sort of stuff, but where do you think it went wrong? Like, where were the French better than us, and what do we need to do to improve? That sounds like a proper question, doesn't it?
I mean, like you, I saw the halftime numbers and I was thinking, man, the French have made so many tackles. We're probably going to run them down in the second half. Like, come the last 15 minutes, the French guys are going to be knackered and we should be able to expose them. But our kicking was awful. We couldn't exit our own half. And some of it was just like aimless, like either kind of make it contestable or drill the hell out of it. But it just seemed a bit of a mishmash. And then, like, when we did a contestable one, Will Jordan gets himself yellow carded for it. It's just like,
we were neither here nor there with our kicking game, and we just would, it was the sort of story of the game after that great try to Talia, thinking, all right, boys, this is on World Cup time. We give away a penalty like immediately. Not having Sam Cane on the pitch, I think. What do you think that would have unsettled the team to a high degree, or do you think, he would have been able to help with the discipline issues, or what kind of impact do you think that really had?
I mean, there's definitely an impact, but is it enough to change the result of that game? Probably not. Like, maybe
probably not.
No, so
unless he like had the best game of his flipping life. What was I keep wanting to say Tamapino Fino came on, but he was left at home. What's the guy who came in for number 6 is
Super Vai.
Yeah, that's it. Vai. He gave away that penalty at the start. Well, he didn't give it away, but he didn't clear that ruck, and then we gave them 3 points.
It wasn't his best outing. He looked a bit pedestrian.
Yeah, he did a touch. I thought Scott Barrett looked good.
Scott Barrett looked great. I mean, no, Mark Talia looks still really hard to bring down. He dropped a couple of balls, but still, he genuinely looks like a live wire.
Will Jordan's not his finest game, sadly, for him.
Yeah. I mean, the scrum was getting pumped. It's a group kept getting pinged at the scrum time.
I am the Groot. He seemed to be pretty miffed by that, and they keep. You know what the coaches and teams are all saying these days, that we've got to show them better pictures. Like, is this a relatively
you need to take incriminating pictures of them when they're at their not finest hours, and then show them those pictures in the middle of the ref. Are you sure that's us boring in ref? I don't think so.
Oh, right, okay, sorry. I thought you were talking to one of my ex-girlfriends. Taking incriminating pictures of me. That could be read into it a number of different ways. But we'll leave that there. But we were bullied as well. Like, especially towards that second half. Do you think, going into halftime, were you thinking, okay, we've got this in the bag? We're not in the bag, but we are by far and away favourites here?
I mean, at times, like when we were running, it was still a little bit lateral. Like, I wouldn't say we were dominant, but I did feel like we were the better team in the first half. But it was still close. It was a good game. But in the second half, it was just men against boys, man. It was embarrassing. It reminded me of that time when we had that tour of Europe, when we lost to Ireland and when we lost to France, and we just looked like, bro, somebody do something like crazy, because I got nothing.
100%. Well, I thought it was kind of, and it was a bit like the Scottish game today. We had 2 really, really great opportunities to score tries, like opportunities where you see the All Blacks score, That's, they get that close to the line, they're clinical, and they get it done. But we took 3 on one of those occasions. That was okay. And then on the other occasion, Cody Taylor does a baffling pass out wide that just goes straight into touch, right on the blower, which was a real, like, we got to try then, like try just before halftime. That's super All Blacks typical, but not doing that. And yes, you're right. Yeah, it looked as though we just didn't have that composure in the second half to like just back our phase play and be able to get out and exit well. We were just looking for the magic play on every play essentially.
Yeah.
And Bowden Barrett is a big part of that for me, with the dinky little chip kicks over, the poor options, picking the wrong times to run, the wrong times not to play territory. Like, I know he's an attacking player and he really backs his ability to be able to find space on a pitch, but when it doesn't come off, there are some harsh penalties to pay, and we were just never getting it right, trapped in our own half for 80% of that second half. It was just and you're not going to win. You've got no options whatsoever to be able to get things done.
That's it. And it was just different. Like, you mentioned composure. The French team, even though they conceded a really early try in their home World Cup, and it was a potential kind of rattler, like they never really blinked. Like they just got next job. I mean, Aldrit was making crazy tackles. I mean, all the French loose forwards, to be honest, shut us down really well.
They had the scrum time already. Battle.
Yeah. They've lost Marchand though, like to an injury, so that's maybe a concerning one. But the replacement Mabaka was amazing, so I don't know.
Yeah, I thought the replacement came on and looked about as good as he possibly could have. He made that great break off the front of the line out down the flank. That was one of the best runs for the French the whole game. But I thought like we were definitely comprehensively beaten, but that try right at the end was such a dagger. Do you think, what was the end scoreline, 13-27 or 23?
Final score more than that. 27-13.
27-13. Fair reflection? I think so.
I think so. Yeah. Second half, we were not good at all.
Hey, by the way,
if anything, that try we scored was kind of like a bit of a fluke, because that was kind of like a weird line out play.
It was an aberration.
Yeah.
Well, the two tries we scored. Like that. We started both half electric. Talia looked good all day. He worked his butt off, but this team is not. No one's looking at the All Blacks now going, oh, geez, they've put a flag in the ground. Like, they just look like a dumb team, and dumb teams don't win World Cups, do they?
Mm-hmm. That's it. Yeah. And not just the All Blacks look dumb, to be honest. But anyway.
Yes. Argentina, they look dumb.
Credit to France.
Credit to France. Am I completely dark, my face right now? I can't really tell.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
I can see about as much as your face as I would like to see. It's fine.
Fantastic. That's not that much, to be fair. You often tell me just to put a paper bag over my face during the usual recording of our podcast. So, we'll take that.
You mentioned Argentina. Can we go on to that one next? Because that game was pretty crazy.
Argentina, England. I had tipped Argentina to win that one. I thought that they were. It wasn't so much that they've been playing well. They did push the South Africans very, very close. It was that, and that was in South Africa, I think. And they also they've got a good victory over the Australians this year. So there's
a little bit of a weird one, because there seemed to be a little bit of hype on the Argentina hype train that was just like, oh man, they're going to top that pool. They're amazing. And it's like, well, they haven't been amazing. They've been like okay. But compared to the pre-World Cup that England have had and that Japan have had, you could say Argentina looked crazy good. But in the scheme of things, Argentina have been okay.
Yeah, and boy, that was, of all the teams over the weekend, including the All Blacks, that was the worst performance we've seen.
Oh, we would say the All Blacks looked dumb. Like, Argentina just looked like they didn't know what rugby was, like what to do.
Yeah. Someone had just introduced the game to a bunch of gym buffs, basically. They just couldn't string anything together. Like, so many just fundamental errors, so many discipline problems, similar kind of problems. But what I was so impressed with England. I know people are saying boring, kicks, penalties, but when Curry got red carded, I thought to myself, and they got that penalty, I was like, bugger, that's the game. And then I just thought, mate, it was pretty much a foregone conclusion, like so early in the piece. But then, a freaking George Ford pops over that incredible first drop goal from near on halfway. And I'm thinking, well, that is a good option. I guess when you're a man down, that's the thing to do. And then freaking 5 minutes later, does it again. Boom. Friggin', and again, like boom, and all of a sudden they've got scoreboard pressure, and then Argentina start to panic, and they're like, shit,
I think that's when they I think it was the 3 drop goals that did it. They were just like looking at each other like, what do we do?
We're meant to be establishing our dominance now. And I at a World Cup, like, what is it, Yanni De Beer or something like that? He's got the record for just the guy who just. It's not a bad option, especially if you got an attack that isn't at its, firing at its very top level. If you can just get the focus on those guys like Tuolangi to make massive hits like he did, and you just get your forwards did well. They laid a really good platform for the ability to happen, and it was weirdly satisfying. Like everyone loves to hate the English, but it's one of those things when a team's shit for a long time, you're like, oh, it's nice to see them do well. That's right. So it was a little bit of a feeling like that for me, and the fact that, including myself, so many people had just written them off as just being pretty bored. For them to be able to come back from that red card, just be really intelligent, like George Ford had the performance of the whole weekend. For sure. And really has made a compelling conversation about what to do at the number 10 shirt for England. It was truly remarkable. And I think depending upon how England finish up in this particular tournament, that will be looked back at as like potentially like a real historic and turning point kind of game for Borthwick's men and maybe Borthwick's realm, because I don't know if any other team in the world right now would have done that in the same way at the 77th minute, been able to plug through, threes. Like New Zealand just would have like still backed our skills, tried to run it, and just pooped the bed, probably been beaten. I don't know, maybe the Box or something. I don't know who. But
there's a weird one. Like you could turn on that game and you'd be like, if you didn't see the indicator that there's a red card, you wouldn't look at that game and go, oh yeah, England's playing with one less player. You wouldn't notice because they were in the ascendancy in so many areas. The breakdown, they would look great. The set piece was dominant. 100%. And then they just kicked the goals, man. And Argentina still didn't have an answer, which is so concerning. Like their attack has been. I keep stats on all the teams, like who generates clean breaks and gets tries and stuff. Like Argentina has always been down that kind of blunter end under Ledesma and under Checker as well, but they were ahead of England. Jeez, man. No, that was
a soul crushing loss. Like that's bad for morale across the team. Like
that moment where Argentina went for their own drop goal, it was just like, maybe that's a good idea. Like,
I like what they've done. It kind of felt a little bit embarrassing. Like I'm going to copy my neighbor's homework. Like, I guess we will. But all they needed to do was just keep ball in hand, play good phase play, hold on to possession and wear them out. But like they gave so many stoppages, so much time for penalties and restarts and all that sort of stuff, and that would have only played into a 14-man England. That's the way England likes to play. It was I found that to be such a thoroughly impressive win for England. And I think so who else is, so we've got Japan in that pool, and who else is,
did you see any of Japan's game against Chile?
Not a second, mate. I'm so sorry. So can I tell you about my Saturday night?
You go on then.
So
that's
Saturday
what the viewers are all dying to hear about.
Saturday morning, I wake up crazy early. Not crazy early, like 6:30. This morning was earlier. Watch the game, get very depressed, and then, unlike me, work my flipping tail off to get a bloody video. Jeez, in a day.
You've done 2 of them recently.
I did a weird video this morning of me in a car, just getting some cheap reaction views. But people were saying, "Were you aiming to get one up before Mark?" And I was like, "No, I'm just more prompt than that guy." No, so I'm absolutely exhausted, and then at the end of it, then my partner's like, you haven't spent any time with your daughter today, and you haven't done, there's all these jobs that you're doing. So I'm like, I'm in the bad books here. So I work my bloody tail off around the house, doing washing, getting in, playing dinosaur games, doing all sorts of weird, crazy things, making crystal balls and stuff with Madison. That's a different kind of story. But trying to be a good dad because I feel guilty. I don't like doing that on a Saturday. Look, I got out of football obviously as well, and then I was and I felt so bad. I was in the doghouse. I cooked dinner, so I got it done, and then put Maddie to bed, and then I was just like, I am absolutely buggered. So what I did was polished off a bottle of wine way too quickly, and then I was like, you know what? I deserve it. I'll have a whiskey. So and then the Namibia game came on, and I was pretty steamed at that stage, watching the Namibia game, and I watched about 30 seconds of it, and I'd somehow convinced myself that Namibia could do this. Not quite, but I texted you like at 11:30 at night, going, "Have you seen Namibia? Not too bad, this team." So I went to sleep. No, I didn't go to sleep. I was on the couch just watching Namibia with a whiskey in hand, and then I woke up, and I was like, "What?" And I was still in the same spot, and Australia was playing. Who were they playing? Georgia. So I was like, so technically, I was in the room for all of these games, but
TV was on.
TV was on, but I have no memory of any of it. So, but can I count that as a view, like for some of these games?
Okay, yeah, go on.
Yeah, I can count that. Okay, well, so I watched that. I watched the end of the Georgia. I watched the start of the Namibia game, end of the Georgian game. Did not watch the Ireland game.
Right.
Watched the English game. That was good. Okay. And this morning, very much watched our friends, the South Africans. So fill me in on, firstly, what was the sort of tail end? Johnny Sexton set a record. It was an absolute pumping by the Irish. Anything of note? Any injuries?
Yeah, I mean, Ireland beat Romania. Romania scored the first try of the game, which was pretty cool.
I saw that.
They went up. The guy missed the conversion like pretty much straight out in front, so it was 5-0. Yeah, but then Ireland they just hammered them. Bundy Aki looked amazing, but it's just essentially a glorified training run. So there's not too much to write home about. None of the Irish guys got injured. They scored a ton of tries. I mean, Sexton got to have a run out, which was good because he's not played rugby for 6 months. He did get a couple of tries himself, and at one point when he was scoring one, like he probably could have gone a bit faster, but he canted a little bit, and the Romanian guy clattered into him, so he kind of bent his wrist back a bit, and he stared this Romanian guy for clattering into him. Like, how did he try to injure me before this World Cup really gets underway? But 82-8, man, it was a walloping. Like, you can probably miss it. Not miss a lot. Yeah.
But the only thing that may be a talking point is if Scotland, who I still think is a very good team, managed to get a win over Ireland. And then these points differentials against
well, that's Namibia, the thing, because when the full time was up, Ireland kept playing. Ireland still wanted to play. Romania still wanted to play as well. And Romania conceded one last try after the long after the full time whistle. So it was Ireland trying to get that points difference as high as they could.
Do you think it's a good experience? Or getting to a World Cup when you're a smaller nation is obviously a big achievement in itself. But does getting these sort of, over 50-point pumpings by literally every team you're in the pool with, because I think there's a good chance that Tonga put at least 50 on them as well, or 40 maybe. They'll beat them comprehensively. Does it do a team good to get pounded by that much?
That's the only one that looks like god awful of the ones this weekend. I mean, I know Namibia got well beaten, and I know Chile got well beaten, but that one, those ones, they had moments. The score lines were maybe a little bit the last 10 minutes, teams get blown out kind of thing. But the Romania one is genuinely, that's awful. And they've got South Africa next.
You're playing two of the best teams in the entire world back to back at the biggest tournament you've ever played at in your life. They would have gone in super pumped, super emotional. Let's show these guys that we're not here just to make up the numbers. All those sort of cliched rugby shit chat would have been gone into it. But just spending the whole day under your goalpost, getting a try scored against you at any level is demoralizing. It's just oh bugger. Yeah. It's not even when you're playing a team that's way better than you, it doesn't feel good.
It's hard. And when there's more points against you than there's minutes in the game, that's not great. So, but Ireland got through it injury-free.
Which is
Romania can Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Is that the thing that was that a cliche thing they say like, wow, that's the level, boys. We know it now.
Yeah.
We'll be better for this. I guess technically, but I don't know. I think if they had Chile and they had Namibia to play or something like that, that would be Portugal. Yeah, that would be something. But then I don't know. It is what it is, isn't it, Mark?
What did you think of the Springboks against the Scots?
I thought, I think all neutrals and probably both of us were quietly pulling for Scotland or loudly pulling for Scotland, depending upon how. And I really love watching the Scottish play, but
Their attack's beautiful.
Their attack is lovely.
But it wasn't in this game.
Sure, it wasn't. I thought they played real tough in that first half. I think, those scrum penalties at the end of the game, I think were wonderful. But I think in retrospect, may have been maybe one of the worst things that could have happened just due to the fact that it seemed to really light a fire under the box afterwards, because they just came out like they had a point to prove with their scrums. I thought Finn Russell did not have his greatest game. I noticed there like a number of the turnovers were due to him passing to players that just were not in good positions to attack. You know how he has that kind of like sort of no look kind of deceptive pass that he has. It was seeming to almost, he had players that were in technically positions to receive the ball, but they just weren't hitting it with any real force and weren't able to really launch any attacking carries from those balls, and they just were constantly isolated. They were
start of the second half. Finn Russell gets tackled, and like as he's taking the contact, the Xander Ferguson, the tight head, who's probably getting ready to clean out the ruck, he just pops it to him. And it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? He's not ready for that.
Yeah, it was a miracle ball. There was a bit of an incident that you might have seen on Twitter that what's his name, Creel, with the head on head. I saw that live and I was like, that's worth a look, but apparently not.
Me as well. My reaction was that's worth a look, but this World Cup they've been really stingy on replays. Like I don't know if it's because they always get criticism about like, oh, you show some in the replays, then the crowd loses their mind and the referee goes back to it. So have they been instructed to like ease up on the replays? But there's some stuff that it's like I would like to see that again. But like I was deliberately not going on social media to check that one because I didn't know the result of one of the other games. So apparently it's become a big talking point.
Well, it's a real shame just due to the fact that the only way to get players, these rugby collisions that happen, all that sort of stuff. Like we didn't really talk about the I forgot his name now. Not Carly Hurley, the England man who got a player landing on him, basically. The red carded Harley. What's his name? The English player got a red card.
Carly.
There was my English mate was like, "That is bullshit. That is absolute crap." Like, and I was like, "Is it really though?" It's kind of. I know.
I thought like it's unlucky. I didn't think it was like the fact that it was a red card did not shock me, but the fact that
not at all.
It was like the fact that situation happened was just kind of unlucky.
It was just it was unlucky, and that's a really crap thing that's happening in rugby these days. These unfortunate incidents seem to be occurring where players aren't going in with malicious intent, but there's a bloke flying in the air and you're just bracing yourself for impact on the ground, and you just aren't quick enough, essentially, and when I used to play rugby, I played at a high level, but you clash heads all the time. You got heads, you're running at each other. You've got heads. Great take, Tony. Real intelligent stuff.
Rugby players, they have heads.
But I was not surprised by it. Like when you look at it for the way the law's written, did he bend? No. Was it with force? Yes. Is there any other mitigation? No. Red card. So it sucks.
I was kind of hoping they might be able to pull some mitigation out. Like they've been seemingly pulling mitigation out of places that you don't maybe see it coming from in recent times. But no, they didn't find any. But also, I think what does
mitigation look like when it comes out of an ass?
Yeah, I know. Probably not very nice. But there's been three of them because there was the Curry one, which was a red. Then there was the Creel one, which was nothing. And then in the Chile-Japan game, one of the Chilean guys had a head contact, and there was a yellow. So it's just like, I don't know. Like, spin the wheel. What are you going to get?
Yeah. absolutely. No, that's the thing, and then the Argentinian had a yellow card really, really close by, but I didn't think that was going to be a red. It seemed to hit him in the chest and the shoulder.
I thought that was going to be yellow as well. And there's some people saying the Creel one was like the initial contact with shoulders. So I don't know, man. I don't want to sit there looking at 12 angles of it. I was just hoping in the background. I'm hoping the TMOs had a look at that.
Yeah. But anyway,
people also lost their mind over the Talia. Was it the second try in the All Blacks game? We forgot to mention it, the forward pass. Like they said, that Rico's pass was
I don't know. Maybe I've got my black eye patch on, but I thought it was backwards out of the hand every day.
I'm assuming, like they check every try. I'm assuming the TMO had a look at that from 5 different angles. I know some of the angles look shitty, and that the ball often travels a long distance.
But it can travel forward. That's the rule. Like if it comes out of the hand,
backwards is the only thing that matters.
Yeah, exactly. Do we have to go through the physics of it all? Because and especially when you have a long pass, it's always going to be exaggerated.
Always look worse. Yeah.
Because there was another pass earlier in the game that Talia got out wide, and I thought it was a similar kind of pass, and that one looked slightly forward out of the hand. Do you remember that? There was another pass.
Yeah. Didn't they call that one forward?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
But I would have been irritated if they called that forward, but then I probably would have gone, no, I was one of those irritating. Yeah.
Did you see much of the Aussie-Georgia game? I know you said you woke up at the end of it.
I saw the Georgian drop the ball right over the line, which was irritating because that would have been better for my points differential for my pick.
Right.
But was Georgia in it? Like, it's good to see, the Australians get a victory at long bloody last.
Yeah.
And I've got people. Can you see these people around me? There's so many of them.
There's some people.
They're all taking photos because all these people are Jaffers who are down here going, isn't this place nice? So lovely. Anyway, what was I saying, Mark? Was it good?
Georgia, they were for a little bit. Like they had some momentum and they blew a bunch of chances. So they could have made it a game, but they just buggered up a lot of chances. But also, I mean, like one of them, they had a maul, and Will Skelton was just like, and just like monstered through it. It was like, no. So it's like sometimes you can't control that.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people have been like big upping the Georgia. Obviously, they've got wins over Italy and Wales, not in the relatively recent past, but and people have been saying they could be a sneaky to get out of the pool, and I've seen some pundits putting them in, getting out of the pool, but I always thought it was going to be a long shot. But to be fair, I haven't watched enough Georgia to really be that familiar. But obviously, they were going to go into that game looking to win, but was it ever looking like, oh, this could go either way, or this is tense, or was it always?
I feel like converted some of the chances maybe, but no, it was never like the last game where it was like they needed to
have a magic day to have that occasion. So finally, Eddie gets a win. Brilliant.
He does get a win. He does.
What was his presser like? Did you watch it? I didn't watch it.
Yeah. I mean, he was still a bit spiky at times. Like someone asked him, like, what does this do for the morale on the team or something? He's like, I don't understand the question. It's like, what do you mean don't understand the question? He's like, well, the morale's always been fine. We've always had belief in ourselves, so I don't understand the question. Like, why don't you just say, no, morale's always been good? But he's just like, no, I don't understand the question. He's just got to be a dick about
it. But I think it's a big part of what he likes to do is throw barbs. He likes to really go at it. I can see lunch is getting served at the moment. There is a little bit of lamb, little sliders. There was a bit of some
cutlery dropped on the floor.
There's a little cutlery dropped around here. I'm still getting a few odd looks. That's all good.
Yeah.
But for the no big injuries or anything like that out of that game.
Who went off? Karevi went off at halftime, but Eddie said in the post-match it was planned. They were only going to give him half a game. So
okay, right.
Yeah, and Donaldson looked pretty good at fullback, which was a bit of a surprise. Callaway's been a bit of a star, and his non-selection was a bit of a talking point. But no, but Donaldson looked good. Big boot on him.
Well, tell me about Japan and Chile.
Chile plays some bloody exciting rugby, and Japan are a team who never maul it. Like I think in 2021, they mauled 3 times across like 5 or 6 games. They mauled it like 6 times against Chile. They were just like, we're gonna maul. I guess they're just like, we're the tier 1 team now, boys. So we're gonna maul against these tier 2 guys. So it was just uncharacteristic, but Yeah, they scored
Really?
some nice tries. Yeah. Chile could have had more points, but it was 42-12. So a bit of a hiding in the end.
Whoa, something just happened to your sound. You just got loud as for a second.
Oh, sorry. I apologize.
No, it sounds good.
It was
42-12. 42-12, so that's relatively comprehensive. Is it enough to give Japan enough confidence to do anything of note in this pool? Or are you still thinking that they're likely to be exiting?
I think Japan will look at that England-Argentina game and say we could beat both these teams if we get it right.
Yeah, you reckon?
So, yeah. But I don't think England will be at the same risk of a maul from Japan. I don't think Japan will maul against England.
I don't think they will. Who have we not seen play yet? So Samoa's in that pool, aren't they? We haven't seen them play yet.
Yeah, we haven't seen Samoa play. We haven't seen Uruguay play. We haven't seen Portugal. And we haven't seen Tonga.
Are they midweek games this week, are they?
No, they're doing it kind of like they're playing all the games over like the weekend period, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then there's going to be bye weeks, basically. Like Scotland's not playing this coming week.
Righto. Okay. Did we talk enough about Springboks Scotland? So we didn't
not
really
really.
delve too
what
deep.
Do you think the Scots kind of got denied, basically. Their attack never got anywhere. A bunch of their guys who tear it up, like Duhan van der Merwe, who averages like 100 meters a game and 10 defenders beat him.
There was that moment where he was open and he just needed to get the ball and it would have been a try, but the opposing wing just didn't do a frozen. Didn't let it go.
Yeah, Darcy Graham didn't pass it, and Marnie Libbok tackled, so they did well. The Springboks shut it down, and Darcy should have let it go. But
I think it will be a game that the the Scots will think, well, how would have that been different if we took our opportunities and we played a little bit smarter? Because being 6-3 up, they had an opportunity there to tip over the apple cart, and that's. Now they've got a massive mountain to climb to exit that pool, which is going to be incredibly tough for them. You'd have to say they're odds on to, very, very likely exiting now. But the South Africans were good. And that's the thing. Was Scotland really that bad, or was just South Africa just so good? They're just their line speed, their pressure at every ruck around the fringes. Like they make nothing easy. They give you nothing. Everything is difficult. And like how the high balls, every single one of them is contestable. Arendse and Colby are getting their hands into every contest. You just can't even take the ball cleanly at any stage. So they were peppering them with that the whole first half. And the Scots, for my money, I thought the Scots were kind of just surviving and just trying to live in that furnace. And they got that 3 points, which you kind of felt like, oh, well, look, sort of play for. They just need to do it now. But I think it was similar to what we were talking about last week with another game where they were kind of tenderized in the first half and they just didn't have the steam to go through with it in the second, which is really... Yeah, and like just in those two quick tries, like the try to Peter Steph took all this air out of the Scottish fans and the Scottish team essentially, and then the lovely try to Arendse with the beautiful kick from Marnie Libbok. That was, boom, 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 done. And
I think South Africa played it like a knockout game. They weren't like, we're going to blow you off the park. They weren't looking for a bonus point. They were just like, we're going to shut you down. Everything you do. Like the Scots were trying those long lineouts because they didn't really want to go head to head with the South African lineout. They were getting a bit messy. South African scrum got put under the pump, but then did what the New Zealanders couldn't do in their game, which was like find a solution to it at halftime. And then they picked it up in the second half. And then they just started to dominate all the key areas and just pulled away. So they didn't need, I don't think their objective was like, we're going to go out and we're not chasing 4 tries. They were just like, just shut them down, get the win, move on to next week.
That's right. And they're just so good at World Cups. They're just so good in high pressure games. It's kind of what the game is geared towards. Like we won't blink, but will you? We won't break. We can live in this all day, and we're not going to give you anything. I pre-World Cup when we put a nice score on them and then Argentina pushed them close, and they were having those stresses and pressures at 10. I think 10's still an issue with Manila box kicking not being quite there, and I think when they start playing the Irelands and Frances of this world, you know, those margins are going to be really, really crucial.
Tight. Yeah,
but
for sure.
Are they the favourites to win it from here after a game? Like, it's just... I just didn't see anyone beating that team today. Like, I thought they played really, really well. I thought Mani Labok in game and play looks really good, does everything a team needs to do. Yeah, but like...
Despite the goal kicking. They actually asked the coach about the goal kicking in the press conference.
They got Faf towards the end, didn't they?
Yeah. But it was funny because Jacques Nienaber just kind of dismissed the comment like, oh, it doesn't matter about his goal kicking. If he's going to get a man-of-match performance, that's fine. And then like they had another question after that. And then Sia Khaleesi must have taken that question personally. He did a Michael Jordan and just took it personally. And like he just stepped in for Mani Labok and was like, look, if his goal kicking, people keep asking, he didn't say it, he didn't get angry about it, actually. He was very calm.
He just
but you could see he had a bit of inner rage going on. That was just like people keep asking about the goal kicking. There's like people, everyone in the team's got jobs. It's a team game. Like if the line out goes askew, that's a thing. Somebody else can help out. Like blah 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 blah. Faf can take over the goal kicking. Chiz can take over the goal kicking. It's like it's a team game. Everyone's going to make mistakes. As long as he does what he can control right, then it's fine. Blah blah blah. But he stepped in like a proper captain. It was like a real
he is. He is just the best captain in the world. You know what I found a little scary before the game? You know how we've got the haka and that's meant to intimidate people. The way that South Africans were singing in the tunnel, you know, like the South Africans seem to be the ones who are singing that sort of chorus and repeat kind of thing. But it was just like, if you're a Scotsman, like coming into that, yo, what up? What up, homie? What up, player? And we had a sick day, are we?
Yeah, she's sick. Good timing.
Yeah. But if South Africa, I just found that a little bit like, if you're a Scotsman walking into that corridor, gee, is that what you want to be hearing? Yeah, it's just unnerving. Yeah. But speaking of singing, could this be the worst World Cup of anthems so far? My God.
You know what? People have been talking about them, but I have been generally getting up so late that I've just been getting up like bang on time for kickoff. So I've not really been watching the anthems, but people saying these choirs are kind of awful.
They are disgusting. So it's all children's choirs. The first for our game, did you watch the All Blacks and France? The choir did there, or did you just literally turn off for quick?
I think I was yapping around with Gaza, so probably not.
All right, okay. So that sounded awful. All the ones I've heard sounded pretty bad. They actually sounded better for the Flower of Scotland, because the Flower of Scotland's just got a nice, lovely melody that's kind of mid-range. But it's just, I find children's choirs, if they're not just following a melody, that a really nice, simple melody, they can be quite shrill, and their harmonic choices have been just really odd, and it's just been, and like the timing and stuff, it's actually been hard for the players to sing along. Like the players are singing like half a line behind the choir's recording, and it just sounds like dog crap.
I get the feeling the French might be taking that a little bit personally as well, because in a couple of the post-match press conferences now, if there's been a French journalist, what the hell are you doing?
Sorry, seeing a friend.
The French journalists have been asking questions in the games which didn't involve France, and they're always about like, what do you think of the anthems? And the people are like, they're good, they're really good. But it's like, why are they asking about the anthems? That's never a question in press conferences.
No, they're not good. Right, that's my musical review. That's what people came here for, to hear me hassling a bunch of children. Tell me about a game that I'm gutted. Absolutely gutted almost. As I said, I saw the last play, which I feel some sort of sense of satisfaction that I managed to catch, because it was just so exciting, and I had a moment with strangers where we just all went fuck, like, and it was quite incredible. But tell me about the game as a whole.
I mean, Fiji had so much attacking play in that game. They'll be disappointed with how many times they dropped the ball, including that final play. A lot of people are saying they were robbed by the referee, and there's a couple of examples they're giving. The fact that the penalty count against Wales was horrendous, and like there's one moment where like Wales have been conceding several penalties, and the ref's like one more and it's going to be a yellow, and then there's no yellow, and then Fiji go down the other end, and then they get a yellow immediately for collapsing a maul. Now, at the time, I thought the reason he's given them a yellow without a warning is because, like, if it's super cynical, that can happen, right? Like, if there's a maul, which the ref thinks is going to go over, and you just straight collapse it, it can be a yellow card without maul. But the fact that it was straight after the Welsh getting several penalties against them without a yellow, that people were like, "This is BS. Like, why do they get 4 warnings and you get like nothing?"
I've got a boys group basically, all my mates from school and stuff, and we've got one Englishman in the group, and this is what he wrote in the group. He said just after the game, people saying fucking heartbreak, all that sort of stuff. He said, "Mate, he's let Wales off with murder, and he's got his yellow up for the first infringement from Fiji. Literally gifted them a 14-point swing at one moment. Tragic."
See, I didn't think it was controversial. The penalty for mine, the penalties they were giving away were different. Like if it's a genuine cynical, like if anyone is on attacking play and you like kick the ball out the ruck, you can get yellow carded for stopping a try scoring opportunity, right? There doesn't have to be a warning. I don't think it's necessarily comparing apples with apples.
I lost you.
Like you lost me. I'm here.
Oh, you're here. I got you. Okay,
good.
I lost you for like 3 seconds. It's all good. Hey, Mark. Hey, buddy.
Hey. What I was saying was the penalties they were conceding were different. So like one of them's a cynical maul potentially going over for a try, you kill it, and then that's a yellow. Like that can be a yellow. Whereas if it's just like offside, that's a different penalty. So I don't think it's apples with apples.
Okay. All right. Well,
but the next time Wales conceded a penalty, he did yellow card him. So Wales got a yellow card at the same time.
Tell me about the tries.
Nyatha Level, the Fijian center, straight between Dan Bigger and Aaron Wainwright. The loose forward just bam, part of the Red Sea.
Wow.
Went straight between them. It was beautiful.
Like an opening vagina.
Beautiful.
Okay, gotcha. I got to keep my voice down. I can't say anything too inappropriate. I'm around professional people.
Can
you hear the?
There's a bit of a din behind you, but it's
okay.
Namibia, they lost.
Oh, who saw that coming? Yeah. I watched part of that. Well, that's the game that I thought the Namibians looked sharp for the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, they looked all right.
Yeah.
Did the Italians look good enough to give you worries about the All Blacks?
No. Well, I'm trying not to dwell too much on that. Like, I don't think so. Like, maybe if they bet us, I wouldn't go away going, I just couldn't imagine that happening. I've spent a lot of time imagining that happening, but I'm trying not to dwell too much on it because it's like just bad juju, basically. And if they win, they're the better team, and they go on with it, and we keep on covering the rugby and trying to enjoy it. Like I feel like I've got myself to a point where I'm quite happy to not happy, but able to accept the All Blacks leaving at some stage, whether that's at a quarter or a semi. And if they did get popped out of the pool, that would sting a lot more. You watch it, Leanne. You're a shocker. All right, see you later. See you at the bar.
Bloody Leanne.
Good old Leanne.
I don't know who Leanne is, but just FYI.
Yeah, it's all
just
good.
For the viewers, in case I think there's some kind of in-joke going on here. No, I don't know Leanne.
No. But in terms of where we are at, I'm not overly confident that we're going to win the World Cup. If we do win the World Cup, it's going to be so incredibly satisfying. It really will. And like, I can definitely see a world where they just string some games together and find some form and do All Black things and do it. But I'm been talking myself into accepting the fact that they could very easily go out. It's going to sting at the time, but it's not the end of the world. And sometimes you just don't have, and it's hard for the All Blacks not to have their greatest squad, but we've been here before, and I think if they do get knocked out of the pools, yes, that will be very, very gutting, but I don't know. Is that a reflection on you and I's character? I don't think so. So we'll move on with our lives. So how's that? I think that was a very weird answer to the question you asked, really. Yeah.
We've got Namibia next, so we've got time to shake it off.
Yeah, we've got time to hopefully just lay down a big old score and just get our attacking through. Do you put DMAC in?
I think they've hinted that they're going to make changes, but I feel like maybe you need to keep the same guys to shake off the rust or to play yourself into some form. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe if they got a win.
Changes though.
Yeah. Do you think DMAC coming in for Moanga or Barrett is on the cards? Is something that's been thought about? I don't think it is, but I
don't think so. I think Fozzie's got his plan. He's going to go with it. So hell or high water, that's what he's going to do.
All right. This is we're at 54 minutes, but we're going to have to wrap it up relatively soon. But games to look forward to next week. What are we looking at?
France, Uruguay, New Zealand, Namibia in Pool A. So those should be pretty.
What are our blockbusters?
The blockbusters would probably be. Well, I mean, Ireland's playing Tonga, which should be pretty comfortable, but could be interesting to see Tonga in their first game.
Could be a fun watch.
Australia, Fiji is now a must-win for Fiji.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And then can England stifle Japan the same way they did to Argentina? It's also going to be fascinating.
Just on Cotton Betty, is it Radraja? Who dropped the ball?
Radra.
That's a haunting drop. Haunting. That'll live with you for a long time.
They still would have had to convert it from the sideline, and Teddy Teller and Lamani have not been kicking that well, but still. Yeah, you would like to score it and give them the chance.
That'll be a great game to watch, mate. I'm looking forward to that. And anything else? Is it all pretty much one-way traffic from there?
Be interesting.
Okay. Yeah. We'll watch them. And we'll talk about them because this is a podcast, Mike, isn't it? No, Mark, sorry. Mike. What's the name of this podcast?
I'm Mike. You're in Queenstown. This is an online podcast. It's on Stitcher because that doesn't exist anymore.
It feels a little. I've enjoyed this chat, but it's not quite as satisfying as having a couple of beers in person, is it? So don't worry. Next week we've got no reason to not have a couple of beers next week, do we?
Good.
So we'll do that. Yeah. You could get this podcast on Apple Podcasts. 2 Cents Gets Distracted. Where else? Not Stitcher. God rest their souls.
iHeartRadio.
Apple Podcast. I always say Apple. Google Podcasts.
What are Apple Podcasts paying you to advertise on Apple Podcasts? You're always doubling down with your Apple Podcasts.
Absolutely nothing. Well, anyway, mate, look, thank you for doing this and being flexible with me today. Not quite our usual setup. I do really appreciate it. I'm getting a bunch of weird looks from all these people around me, but hey, that's my life. I'm used to weird looks.
Used to it.
Yeah. Used to it. Hey, all right. Well, thank you all very much for listening. We do appreciate it, don't we, Mark? I hope they're enjoying their rugby. I hope everyone's enjoying their rugby.
You can't not be enjoying your rugby right now. Everyone's still got a chance. Nobody's knocked out yet.
Let's go. Back your team. Even if they didn't have a great... If you're an Argentinian fan watching this, back your team. We're going to... Come on, All Blacks. I'm backing you too. All right. On that note, on that bombshell, thank you so much, mate. Virtual shake.
Thank you, bud.
There we go, buddy. Arida, kakitano, everybody. See you later.